Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our podcast, The Bible in a Year of Daily Grace. My name is Miranda, and today we are looking at 1 Samuel 19-21. The dramatic saga of Saul attempting to kill David continues, and now the king is even asking his servants and his own son Jonathan to be in on the attempted murder. Jonathan and David had become close friends though. The text tells us that Jonathan loved David like he loved himself. Jonathan would have been much older than David, so the friendship we could liken to one between that of a father and son. So when Jonathan hears that Saul is trying to kill David, he tells his friend to hide, and he confronts his father. When Jonathan speaks to Saul, everything seems to go well. Saul even promises by the Lord's name that David will not die, and that he would bring David back into his household. But as soon as David has another victorious match against the Philistines, Saul tries to kill David again by pinning him against the wall with a spear when he is playing the lyre. Michal, the daughter of Saul and David's wife, has to help her husband escape that night from her father because Saul sends soldiers to their home to kill him. David goes to be with Samuel, the only person he can trust. But this does not stop Saul. He keeps sending agents to seize David, but as they near where he is with Samuel, the agents start to prophesy. They were uttering praise and worship to the Lord under the influence of the Holy Spirit. After this happens to 3 groups of agents, Saul decides that he will just go himself, but the same thing happens to him, except he takes off all of his royal garments before the prophet and prophesied all day and all night. The Spirit of the Lord humbles Saul before Samuel and David. He is stripped of all of his prestige and laid bare. This should make us think of the conversation between Samuel and Saul when Samuel tells him the kingdom has been stripped or torn from him. As Saul is stripped and bare, prophesying before the prophet, the Lord is showing him the reality that he is trying to run from. The kingdom no longer belongs to him. We would think that the Lord's intervention would have been enough to stop Saul's murderous attempts to take David's life, but it is not. In chapter 20, we see Jonathan try and protect David again. He tests his father at the meal during the new moon, an occasion where Saul's household would have gathered together. David will not show up for the meal, and instead tells Jonathan to tell Saul he has gone home to Bethlehem for an annual sacrifice, because he wants to see how Saul will respond. Saul is furious at David's absence and even tries to kill Jonathan when he defends David. Jonathan relays the news to David, and they weep together. They had earlier made a covenant together. Jonathan knows the kingdom is going to David, and he accepts the Lord's decision. He only asks David to remember him and his family with kindness, and he blesses David. How humble. David flees from the city to Nob, where he encounters Ahimelech and priests of the Lord. He is in need of sustenance and weapons. The only bread that is on hand is the bread of the presence, the bread the Lord gave to the priests to eat in the holy place. The priests eating the bread in the temple in the presence of God showed their fellowship with him. While Ahimelech could have denied David this bread, since it was a tradition among the priests that the bread would only be eaten by them, he sees David's need and knows that to help him would honor the Lord, even if it meant breaking tradition. Jesus will refer to this passage when he rebukes the Pharisees over their desire to keep their traditions about the Sabbath, even if it meant ignoring the needs of others. Ahimelech also provides Goliath's sword for David. Both the bread and the sword are examples of God's provision for David. Saul may be chasing him, but the Lord is on his side, sustaining him and providing for him. Jesus himself is our bread, our eternal sustenance, and he is a warrior on our behalf. We can take refuge in him like David did. Catch, though, how the text wants us to notice that there is a man named Doeg, an Edomite, and the chief of Saul's shepherds, who was there watching this exchange. This is where the suspenseful music would come in during a movie. Something is not good about this Doeg guy, and we'll find out soon enough. So in closing, how are we like Saul? Or how have we been like him before fighting against what we know the Lord has willed, only to be humbly broken before him? And how can we be like David, utterly depending on God in the broken and messy situations of our lives, even when the people we love most are a part of them? We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Make sure you are following along with us at the Story of Redemption studies that are available on our website. We also have accompanying journals where you can keep all of your notes as you study. This will be a great resource to check out. We'll see you back here tomorrow to keep on studying the life of David, Saul, and Samuel.